Hello and welcome to today's session, problem solving, subject urban governance and development. As no learners have joined so far, I'll wait for 5 minutes more to join for them to join the session, and then I'll start the session. Just 5 minutes now, so I think I should start today's session. I see one learner has joined. I think your name is. Okay. Hello Bhavna, welcome to today's session. I hope you can hear me. There is Azizur Rahim. So two learners have joined so far. I'll quickly take today's attendance. Okay, Bhavna says, yes, I'm audible. Good. Welcome all to today's session. Today is the second live problem solving session. Were any of you present in the first live session? You can just either unmute yourself and tell, or you can even write in the comment box present in the last session or not. It's not an attendance. I'm just asking for information so that I can know if I need to repeat something from the previous session or we can move ahead. It's not present. What about other two? Aziz and Junaid, were you two present in the last session?
No, ma'am, I was not present.
Okay, very well. So I'll just quickly brief you a little bit about these problem sessions um, and tell you how we move forward ahead. So if you are taking the NPTEL session and you are following the weekly courses, you might know that every week you are assigned an assignment. So you have the regular lecture course and every week you have an assignment. So similar to your assigned questions for every assignment, we will solve a set of questions every week here. The questions which I'll be solving here, they are from the previous runs of this course. So there might be some questions similar to the ones which are assigned now, but it is not from this session. The questions are from the previous session. So what this is supposed to do is to help you or guide you solve the questions. What's background material you need for the questions, or how to approach the questions, how to see question language, or how to solve, and maybe a few more examples uh, of questions or study material that might help you in solving either the current questions or maybe the questions that you might later in the exams, or maybe for something else also. I know that the students or the learners who join this course, they are from different varied backgrounds. So some of you might be enrolled in college courses, so either bachelor's or master's or even PhD coursework programs, and you might be taking NPTEL courses count for the count towards your coursework. Some students also join these sessions to prepare for competitive exams like GATE. There are other learners who join this for their knowledge development or other aspects. So we try to make these sessions in a way that these are understandable to everyone. So even someone coming from a background who does not have any knowledge about this kind of material or this kind of course, we try to go about in a way that it is understandable to everyone. So this is the basic premise. So how we go about is that we take the questions which were assigned previously and we solve them. And if you have any doubts regarding them, you can ask me. If you have any doubts regarding the questions which are assigned in the current assignment also, you can ask the questions. However, I won't be able to tell you the answers to those questions because you are going be graded based on those assignments. So I can only tell you about the background material, how to find what you need to find, and how to approach the question and how to go about solving it. I won't tell you the answer to those questions. Similarly, as I said previously, that many of the questions which were assigned in the previous runs are similar to ones which are assigned in the current run. So in order to just avoid giving out answers to the questions which are assigned in this run as well, I will just avoid giving you answers to all of the questions. I'll just tell you the background material, how to solve it, and how to approach the question. That is what I'll do. And in the process, if you have any doubts regarding the problems we are solving or the ones that you are assigned currently, you can ask me. So you can either text in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask the question. I hope that is clear to everyone. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 learners have joined so far. So I think I'll start the session. Before that, I'll quickly want to know if you are not having any problems in accessing our shared folder, and if you're not having any problems accessing the shared folder and the recordings of these sessions. I don't know if you know, but all of the live sessions are being recorded, and the recordings of this session is then uploaded to a YouTube channel where all of the week's videos are available. So you can check out these videos even later in your own time, or if you miss some session, you can go and check the video there. So that is there. So you might have received a link to a shared Google Sheet where you have the link for each week's video and link to a shared folder where I upload all the presentations and additional reference material. Have all of you found that link, or is anyone having difficulty finding that? Everyone has found the link. If you haven't found the link, I can quickly show you how to find it. I see Anita is here. I think Anita, you were there in the last session also.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You
I was
found the link to the shared folder, Anita?
that evening.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh, Everyone else has found the link. I'll just quickly show you anyway. So So this is the Swayam portal, or this might be the page which comes when you log in. So from here you go to My Courses, go to the course which you are assigned or which you are currently. In this here you'll see this in the last, which is the problem solving session. So you click onto here and you get this problem solving session recording. Click onto this and you get this problem solving session recording, and you get click here to view the problem solving session lectures. Okay, so when you click onto the link, you go onto this page, and in this page you can see there is the YouTube link for each week. There is a link for the shared folder that we have, and you can just click here and go to this shared folder. So this is our shared folder in the Google Drives. Here, like this is the previous week's presentation and all the other study material which I have shared. So you can share all of this study material from this link, and then this is the link to the YouTube video. So you can click on here and go through to the video from previous weeks. So I hope that is clear to everyone, and everyone can access that. So I think I'll now start today's session. So this week, which is week 2, these are the lectures that you have covered so far. So the first and second would be people and community, part 1 and 2. That would be about how people and community are a part of the governance system. Then a little bit about the demographics. So what are the specific characteristics of population on population study that you keep in mind while studying urban management, or even then you would have studied a little bit about exclusion and poverty, and how those populations are there, and how urban governance hopes to deal with such issues. Also, major part of people and community, or their part in the governance, is related to the participation of the community and response they receive from the government system. So you would have studied a little bit about that. Also have studied a little bit about different community organizations or different public organizations, like self-help groups, NGOs, etc., and what their role is in furthering our governance and helping people and community in the same. And lastly, you would have seen a few examples of how community and people can work together with the government system in furthering development and objectives of a city. Next lecture would be about land as a basic resource. In this, you would study about how land is an important part of our development, and how this so that is managed through our urban system for different objectives. You would also have studied different land uses and land governance, and the difference between them, how they are assigned, associated, how they are demarcated, and things like that. Then next lecture would be urban energy. In that you would study about the environment, the ecosystem, and systems. Then focusing more on the urban ecosystem, and then on the different mandates that exist to manage the urban ecosystem. Lastly, were the lecture about distinctive features of non-municipal urban areas and Nagar Panchayat. So, as you know, that cities are dynamic in nature, or city growth is dynamic in nature. Cities are not constant, or urban areas are not constant. Urban areas continuously grow and expand, and in the process, many a times there are areas which are transitioning from rural to urban. So either they are in a process of transition or have completely transitioned, or just they have become census towns. They have not become cities as per a statute, or they have statutory towns, but they are in the process of urbanizing, or they have urbanized. So there are many those of such cases of areas which are urban in nature, but then they don't have a municipal corporation, or they are non-municipal urban. So you would have studied in this lecture a little bit about those areas and the governing bodies which take care of the governance and management of these areas. And we would also have studied a little bit about the different problems that these area faces, like lacking capacity to undertake it because they don't have a proper municipal system. So often they lack a lot of capacities which other urban areas have. Then there might be a problem of appropriate or enough infrastructure which is present in that area. There might be a problem of supplies, and in some cases there is more demand and less supply of certain services and infrastructures and other things which are required in this area. So all of these things we would have studied uh, in issues that occur with these kind of non-municipal urban areas and so this is all that has been covered in week. So we will look at the questions which surround these topics. So first question for today is that land cover represents existing and natural elements, whereas land use primarily represents man-made elements. Is it a true or is it a false statement? So first you need to focus here on the terminology itself. So there are two terms. One is land cover, which is land plus cover. The second term is land use, which is land plus use. So land cover is basically the cover on the land, or the cover which is associated with any particular land. If you just see physically what the land is covered with, what kind of physical element is covering the land, that can be simply understood as land cover. It can be a water body, it can be some certain kind of vegetation, it can be just barren land, or sometimes it is even different types of soil, or even if it's forest, different types of forest. If it's a water body, different kinds of water body. It's like that. So land is just, if you look at the physical attribute of land, what the land is covered by, that is land covered. It can even be covered by built up area, so man-made structures like roads or buildings or things like that. But we don't see what kind of buildings or what the buildings are being used for. We just say that it's a settlement or a built up area, like that. When we talk of land cover, just focus on the physical attribute, not the use associated with that attribute. So that is what land cover is. Next is land use. So again, it is land plus use. So use is not only the physical attribute which is there, but also what the land is being used for. So in the terminology itself, you can see it is kind of clear which one is the natural element and which one is the man-made, because cover is what we just see. It can be associated with the nature and biodiversity, or even with human activity, which is humans are also part of the ecosystem. So maybe the elements created by humans can also be understood as a natural system. However, land use focuses solely on how the land or the attributes, physical attributes associated with the land are being used by humans. So that is what land use is. So I think this itself makes it clear which one is the natural attribute and which one is the man-made attribute. So land use, it can be assigned to any land. So there might be a building, but the building can be residential. It can be used for housing, so it can be residential building. It may be roads, so can be used for transportation. So roads, parkings, airports, these things can be associated with transportation use. Then buildings can be uh, maybe industrial buildings, so it will be associated with industrial land use, things like that. So you can see here when we talk of land plus cover, cover can be only the things which you can physically see, which is covering the land. So here are some examples. So cropland. So you can see agricultural land or cropland which has been cropped upon. So if you see the physical attribute which is covering that land is cropland or crops, so we call it a cropland. Are considering what the land cover is. There can be pastures. So pastures are plain grass fields or fields which have either permanent or has grass for very long periods, uh, long periods of like several years, and which is used for maybe grazing of cattle or things like that. So that is called pasture. So if you see the physical attribute associated to that land, it's pasture. Uh, Another, as I said, can be settlement or built up area. So the area which has been built up on. So the physical attribute which you see covering the land is a settlement. So the land cover in that area is a settlement. Other things can be forests. So uh, area is covered by forest. The land cover of that area is forest. Uh, there can be water bodies and different kind of water bodies. So here it is a water body which is a lake. There is a not exactly a water body but a wetland. So this is another kind of distinction in land cover which can. Next is land use. So use can be of different types, as I said. So not only the land has been developed or built upon, but that is not key. The key thing is key what the land is being used for. So for example, you see this is kind of a suburban residential area. So it consists of mostly houses in which people live. So it is used for housing. So that is why the land use associated to this area is residential. Although I understand that it has some roads also which counts as transportation. However, I'm focusing on the land on which the houses are there. So that area, you can say the land use of that area is residential. This shows a shopping mall or shopping complex. So you can see that this land is associated, the use associated to this land is for commercial activity. So the land use associated with this land is commercial. Then you can see this land is associated with the roads and transportation. So the land use of this land is transportation. And then you can see here is the industrial land use because this land is being used to house industries and the land is being used for industrial purposes. Okay, so I hope this is clear. However, as I mentioned, that the use doesn't have to be the land use doesn't have to be for only for the land which has been developed on. Like we can see here, all of this land has been developed upon, like either houses or commercial complexes or roads or industrial areas have been developed upon the land. So we assign them a function related to the particular building or infrastructure that has been developed on that land. But in some cases, in urban areas also, there can be some land which is not uh, developed in terms of developing an infrastructure or a built up component in that area, but a particular use can be assigned to that land. For example, an open space or green space can be there in a city, which can be assigned land use of parks or open green space. So there can be even land which is just barren land. So although it doesn't have a specific use in terms of in terms of anthropocentric activities, but then even barren land has its ecological functions. So the use we usually assign to that kind of land, or the land use which we denoted by, is called just barren land. There can even be some farmland in urban areas also. So it is often termed as urban farmland or urban cropland. The land use which we assign to it is called urban cropland. There can even be water bodies in urban areas, like in this example, and these are all examples in which the area has not been developed upon by developing some built up area or some infrastructure. However, a particular land use to that land has been associated in this case. So this is another thing which you can remember uh, while trying to differentiate what land cover is and then what land use is. So I think this makes it very clear that land cover is only the physical aspect of whatever is covering the land, or whatever that they are present on the land. It is the natural concept. However, land use is not only the physical attribute, but again what the physical attribute is being used for by the people that are using that land. So that is the land use component, and because it focuses on the use by man, so it is a man-made component. I hope this is clear to you, and I hope you can answer this question. I also provided additional material to this question uh, because land use and land cover are very basic and very important concepts of urban uh, land management and even urban governance, and this concept should be very clear, and you should also be uh, very clear on how both these terms are used in different contexts of land management and different analyses or studies related to urban land. So, for example, there are different systems developed by different agencies that identify land cover in a particular area. So, uh, in many of the cases, the land cover on Earth is identified by satellite imagery, which is provided by different satellites, and different kind of organizations who are tasked with identifying the land cover. They have their own systems of classification of different land covers. So, this example of land cover that I showed you, this is just an example. This is not a set system of classification of land cover. These are mere examples. However, there are systems of classification of different land covers that have been developed by different organizations or different bodies which monitor the satellite imagery, and it is essential to know what these classifications are in order to then further, not only just for the sake of this course, but even further to learn and understand how you can use this. So one such classification system has been developed by the FAO, which is called the Land Cover Classification System, or LCCS, uh, which largely divides the classification into these. So, which is cultivated and managed terrestrial areas. So, this would be everything that has been either cultivated, so agriculture, or or managed terrestrial areas. So, maybe then settlements or anything which have been managed by humans. Then there is natural and semi-natural terrestrial vegetation. So it can be natural like forests and things, or semi-natural, so maybe even urban forests or planted forests, uh, the forests which are a part of deforestation efforts or something. Then there is cultivated aquatic or regularly flooded areas. So areas which are naturally uh, flooding on their own or maybe flooded artificially. Uh, those can be a part of this. So, for example, you might about several floodplains which exist, which are regularly flooded, and because of their nature, of their soil and water availability, there many a times for cultivation of or aquaculture also. So this pertains to that land cover. Then there can be natural and semi-natural aquatic or regular flooded vegetation. Then there can be artificial surfaces and associated areas. So artificial surfaces, anything that has been artificially developed. So all of the built-up areas, all of the buildings, all of the paved areas, uh, transportation networks, everything comes under that. Then there are bare areas. So barren lands, lands on which nothing grows. So barren lands located in India, so desert or things like that. Then there can be artificial water bodies, so artificially constructed lakes or other water systems. There can be snow, ice. Then the last is natural water bodies, snow and ice. So these are the different land covers that come under the LCCS, which has been made by the FAO. I have also given you a link to the land cover classification system. So if you just click onto that link, you will come onto this website of FAO, and from here you can access the classification system. So this is the land cover classification system which is used by the FAO, and here you can see the different classifications. So this is clear to you. So this you can use on a time if you want to read further about it. So if you click here, if you see 1.2 classification and legend, you can see different classification and the legend that is used for that classification. Similarly, you can access different parts of this. So for example, this is the land cover classification system. Here you can see different classifiers that are used and then what that denotes. So this is the same thing which I showed earlier in just not as much detail, just in few. But if you want to see in detail, you can come on to here and see this table in detail. Coming back, this is another land cover nomenclature system, which is the Korean land cover nomenclature system. So here you can see there are the land cover has been classified into a different system. So first there are artificial surfaces. So it can contain further classifications like urban fabric or industrial commercial transport units, then maybe mines or construction areas, then things like artificial or non-agricultural vegetated areas like parks maybe or urban forests. Then there are agricultural areas, then forest. So forest, in forest also there can be forest, there can be scrubs, or herbaceous vegetation. So it is not exactly forest with large trees, but like grasslands, moors, or shrubland, etc. Then open spaces with little or no vegetation. So like bare rocks or barren land, etc. Then wetlands and water bodies. So this is the current land cover. So I have also provided a link for this as well. So if you just click onto here, you'll go to this website. Here you can see the updated CLC picture also, but I'll just show you this one. Here, for example, you can see artificial surfaces. You see this further classification, similarly forest, wetland, etc. And if you go of these as well, you'll see the further different classifications. So, for example, if I click onto the broadleaf forest, you'll see the description of that land cover, the generalization which are made, and how it is being denoted, and then you even see images or few examples of what actually that land cover denotes. So, if you want to see this in detail, you can visit this link which I've shared here for the CLC nomenclature. This is for the Copernicus satellite. So imagery from that satellite is classified using this nomenclature. So here is an example of the land cover type. So this does not go into as much detail as I showed there, but can go into detail. However, because this map has a scale which is not suitable for that much detail, it only goes into these classifications, and you can see how using those classifications you can mark the land cover of an area. So I hope this is clear. Then coming to urban land use, so that was all we talked about land cover, and land use is another important criteria. So you might have studied in the lessons that these are the general urban land use categories which are used by most of the urban bodies or urban planning organizations in the country. So these, although there might be some variations from this color scheme or even land use classification. However, you can take this as a general guideline of how different urban land use categories in India are classified. For example, this is the Delhi Master Plan 2021. You can see here how different land use has been classified. So this is not the land cover, but the use that has been assigned to each parcel of land. So if this is not very zoomed in, so I've even provided the link to the Delhi Master Plan. So if you just click on through to this link, you can see the Delhi Master Plan. And again, as I said again and again, you need to check the proper source. So for example, this you can see this master plan has been accessed from Delhi Development Authority's website, so that we know that this is a credible organization and can be trusted for the information it provides. So again, let's see here. This is yellow, uh, some green, and red. So again, we can go here and see what all of this means. So we can see here yellow means residential area. So all of the yellows that are read in this master plan mean that the land which is colored in yellow is the land which has a land use of residential. So that land can be developed for use of or for use as a residential area. Red we saw, so red is associated with retail or the red which we saw, it was just plain red, so it is associated with commercial use, and even in commercial, it is associated with retail, shopping, and general business. Then we saw a blue. So blue is associated with public and semi-public facilities. So I think this is clear. If you want, I have provided the link to this master plan in the PPT itself. However, you can even go on to this website and find the master plan of Delhi for yourself, and you can see how different land uses has been denoted with different colors. And you can see that there might be some differences from how we have generally accepted the land use and color categories. Also, if you see master plans of other cities, you can see also that there are often some variations in the colors and classifications that different city uses, and especially for classification, as the city might have different kind of areas present in the city. So for example, every city might not have an airport, or every city or town might not have similar modes of transportation. So similarly, the different classifications in each city varies, and the color scheme that each city chooses also varies from time. However, recently, I don't know how many of you know, but not recently, but in 2016, Amrut uh, uh, not Amrut, but this GIS-based master plan for Amrut cities was introduced, and associated with it, there were the design and standards for construction of these master plans was introduced, in which the classification of different uses and the colors and legends to be used for all of these land uses were also introduced. So I have provided a link to that here as well. So if you just click on to, you can see this is the standard, and you can see here that this is provided by the TCPO website, and it has been developed by the TCPO. And you just see here, see here, you can see urban land use or land cover. Although it mentions land cover, but I think the distinction to you is clear now, that it is focusing on the land use, not land cover really. So you can see here, this is the standard and design or standard for constructing a master plan that has been given out by the TCPO, especially for Amrut cities. You can see here classification in terms of residential, commercial, industrial, mixed use, educational, health services has been given. And for each, you even have a subclass, like I said, or like I showed you for the Delhi master plan, that even in the particular land use there can be further classification. Like for example, here in residential, you have a residential area or a colony. You can even have townships, or you can even have particular housing schemes, and in that you have different symbols. So if it is a residential colony, you have yellow, just plain yellow. If you have a township, you have just a boundary. If it is part of a housing scheme, you have yellow lines. Similarly, in commercial, you can see there is retail. Retail is red horizontal lines. Wholesale is red with black vertical lines. General business is filled in red. If it's a hotel, lodge, or restaurant, it is red lines at a degree of at an angle of I think 45 degree. In case of shopping malls or shopping centers, it's a crisscross polygon filled with red lines. Similarly, you can see different land use types and then further classification and then how the symbols have been made for them. And you can know that this is how the master plan for Amrit cities has been constructed. This is the standard they follow to construct these master plans on a GIS based platform. I hope this is clear. Now coming back, I hope this whole question of what is land use and what is land cover and how both play a part in urban planning and urban governance and how both can be distinguished is clear. Moving on further now to the second question for today, which is select the option which has the highest level of citizens participation according to ladder of citizens participation developed by Sherry Arnstein in 1969. And then you have been given four options: consultation, placation, informing, and delegated power. And you have to choose one of them, which is the highest level of citizens participation. So this question focuses on the Einstein's ladder of citizen participation, which has been discussed in the lectures. However, I'll discuss with you again. I have also attached here the link to Einstein's original work. So this is Einstein's original work, which she had published, uh, focusing on citizen participation, and she called it the ladder of citizen participation. There you can see how she depicted the ladder. Then she described each of the levels of participation in detail. So if you want to go and refer the original work, this link is for you. So you can just go on to this link and refer to Einstein's original work. Or I'll just explain quickly what uh, what this ladder means. So this is how the ladder of citizens' participation looks. It has several levels, starting from manipulation, ending to citizen control. So manipulation is the lowest level of participation, and citizen control is the highest level. So if you move upwards from manipulation to therapy to informing consultation, then further on to citizen control, you move further towards greater citizen participation. So manipulation is the lowest level of citizen participation, and citizen control is the highest level of citizen participation. So what all these different terms mean here? So manipulation basically means that there is no real participation, but the data or the information regarding citizen participation has been manipulated in a way that it shows that there is participation, but no real participation is there. So maybe just a rubber stamp organization has been formed, or just for namesake, you are saying that you are taking participation from the citizens, but no real participation, no consultation, no feedback, nothing like that is there. So this is what is called manipulation. Second level is therapy. So therapy is that you go to form a council for perception of the local need or issue. So you seek counsel to form an opinion of what the local need or what the local issue is, but you don't really take any action towards that issue. So this is what is called therapy, or the second level of citizen participation, is that you are inviting participation in forming an opinion on the issue uh, or the need of that area, but then you are not really doing anything after the need has been formulated. Many a times in this case, what happens is that uh, while the issue, uh, while the council is sought to find out the issue, often the responsibility or the onus of taking the responsibility of the issue is then further pushed backwards onto the citizens, and then no action is taken because the citizens are responsible for the need or issue being present in that area. So this is one example of therapy. So this is what therapy means, that you are seeking counsel to form an opinion or form an understanding of what the issue is, but then you are not really doing anything to resolve the issue. This is what is the second level of participation. Then comes the third level, which is informing. So informing means you inform the citizens via some kind of media. So it can be print media, it can be written media, it can be public announcements, it can be through digital media or anything like that. But it is just one way transfer of information. So you transfer the information from the government or the public body to the citizens, but you don't take any feedback or any response from them. So you tell them, inform them about some issue or some action you are taking, or why do you think that action is good for them, but you do not invite any feedback from the citizens if they feel that this is some issue which they are facing, or if they are happy with the decisions that have been made, or if they want to provide some feedback or anything. So it is just one way information, but seeking no feedback, no consultation back from the citizens. So this is the third level of citizen participation. Then comes consultation. So consultation is two-way. So it is both providing information and then consulting really for the needs and issues of the society, but then not sharing the information on decision making. So you are consulting and taking feedback only on the issue which is there in the city, but you are really not taking any consultation on or feedback on what you have decided to be the solution of that issue. So in the initial stage, when you are formulating the problem or issue of the city, you are doing consultations with the community or the local society or the members of community, but after that the participation ends, then the public body or the government becomes the sole uh, body who takes a decision about what is to be further done, and no feedback or consultation is further taken from the society or the citizens. So that is the fourth level of participation, which is called consultation. The fifth level of consultation is called placation. So placation means, in very simple terms, placation means softening or smoothing of some situation by doing a small thing but not entirely discussing the whole problem. So in consultation, you saw that it is just taking feedback on the issue but not on the decision making. In placation, you do take feedback on decision making as well, but then you only fulfill only a small part of the issue as a token. So it is kind of a token participation or token problem solving, that you take consultation and you find out and form there is a huge need or huge problem or a huge issue which is there, but uh, as a part of the decision making or problem solving, you do take feedback from the society, but you only solve a small part of it, or you only take care of needs of a small part of the population, not the whole population. That can be another example. So this is what is called placation, that you take feedback and participation in both the formulation of the issue and in the decision making, but you do not focus on the whole problem or whole issue, but only one part of the issue. So this is the fifth level of citizen participation, which is called placation. Then comes sixth level of participation, which is called partnership. So, in partnership, the citizens and the public or the governing body in the city are partners. They work together both for decision making and implementation of city projects. So, starting from the problem formulation, then for the decision making of the solution, and then further even to during the implementation of the project. So, on all three levels, the citizens and the public body are in partnership in making all the decisions and providing constant feedback and going through constant consultations. So this is the sixth level of participation, which is called partnership, in which both citizens and the public body share similar powers for consulting and providing. Then comes delegated power. So in this example, the public body or the government delegates some power to the citizens themselves, where citizens have complete control over problem formulation or problem solving or even implementation. How this happens? This happens through some type of community organization or community body which has been formulated by the citizens, and the public body provides some powers to the community organization or community body, which then further takes care of some particular functions. Uh, the example of these can be some NGOs. So NGOs sometimes are delegated some functions from the public body. So it can be functions and even funds that are delegated, and then the community body or community organization can use those funds and use those powers assigned to them to further take decisions for the community and to solve those issues. This is the seventh level of participation. It's called delegated power. Then comes the eighth level, which is citizen control. This case, this happens when only in the case then when the municipal office totally defaults, it totally fails to perform according to the expectation of the citizens, and in such case, the office can be dismissed and uh, so, in a way, citizens take control and dismiss the current municipal office, and then uh, there is a wait period for the new office to be then elected by the citizens again, and then further functions would be taken by the newly elected office. So, this is what is citizen. So these are all the different levels. So I hope the question is very clear to you now. How you solve it? What is the lowest level of citizens' participation, and what is the highest? I think there are no doubts in that, and I hope there are no doubts in even what the different levels mean. We'll just do a quick uh, question and answer round with few examples. I'll show you few examples, and you can just quickly tell me what each of the example represent, what level of participation the examples represent. So example 1, it is a rubber stamp advisory committee or an advisory board for the express purpose of educating the citizen or community member or engineering their support. Here you focus that it is saying engineering their support. So there might not be real support, but you have created a rubber stamp advisory committee which will, no matter there is a support or not, it will engineer that there is a support, and it will say that community is supporting this kind of uh, decision that has been taken by the government. So who can tell me if what level of participation this is? Anyone can tell? You can either unmute yourself and tell, or you can just type. Anjali is saying manipulation. Okay. Anyone else?
Tokenism?
Who is saying tokenism? Is it Anita?
Anita.
Okay, okay. Anita is saying tokenism. Okay, someone else is also saying placation. Okay. Uh, Anjali, can you briefly tell why do you think it is manipulation?
It since it says a rubber stamp advisory, it is more like a. I mean, it comes across as a something which is just on paper, and it is not really kind of mm, doing the needful, more of a duty,
Very well.
official documentation.
Yes, that is very correct. As it mentioned, it's a rubber stamp advisory. So rubber stamp basically means something which is on the paper. It might or might not really exist, but it is there on paper. Uh, Again, you need to see that it says it engineers their support. So engineering something means that it might not really be there, but you are producing it out of something which is not really there. So uh, engineering something which is not there, if engineering a physical thing is possible, but engineering some support from the community which does not exist is not possible. So this is just basic manipulation through some paperwork showing that there is community support, however no real community support is there. So this is an example of manipulation of data or manipulation of documentation to show that there is support, however no support really exists. Let's take another example, uh, which says public funding will flow directly to a community organization, and that organization would have full control over how that funding is allocated. So in this example, some fund for some particular to solve some particular problem or issue, some public funding has been allocated from the public body to a community organization. So that organization is a representative of the community, of the citizens. So the funds would flow directly to the community organization. So whatever funding body is there, it will give the funds directly to the community organization, not to the public body, not to the government, but to the citizens body. And that citizens body or the community organization, it will have full control over how the funding is allocated and used. So, who can tell me what level of participation this represents? Anyone? Anita, would you like to try again? Or anyone else even? I see there are a lot of people present today. Shrestha, would you like to try?
Delegated part?
Anita,
Would
what
it
you are saying?
be delegated part?
Okay, Anita is saying delegated power. Uh, Someone else is saying partnership. Uh, okay, someone is asking to show the options. Okay, I'll quickly show the ladder again. So this is the ladder. You can see. So Anita has said delegated power. So some power has been delegated to the citizens. Anyone else? Uh, okay, Anjali is saying citizen control or delegated power. Okay, and someone is saying partnership. Okay, so partnership is entirely incorrect because you can see here that the public body is not in control. The fund is directly being allocated to the community organization or the citizen body, So the public body has no control over how the fund is going to be used or at what time or for what purposes. That is entirely in the control of the community organization or the body to whom the fund will be allocated. So partnership is not correct because the government or the public body has no say in how the funds will be used. The other two answers, citizen control and delegated power, both both are kind of correct. Uh, so both answers are kind of correct because in one way you can see that power for some particular objective or some particular work has been assigned to that particular organization, and that organization is going to take some funds from a funding organization and going to take care of the work. Or in a way you can even call that this is a level of total citizen control, because the public organization has no control over how the funds will be used, and the entire control is with the citizens. So either citizen control, and I would even accept delegation as a possibly correct answer for this question. Uh, Next example, which is a citizen board or corporation that is tasked with managing a community program rather than merely participating in a program managed by a city. So in this example, a citizen board has been set up, or citizen board or corporation that has been set up, and it has been tasked with managing a community program. So one particular community program rather than merely participating in a program which is managed by a city. So in this case, the program is managed by the community. However, it is just one community program. So what do you think will be the answer for this? Who is funding? The funding information is not provided in that example. That is not of relevance. But you can see here, uh, the citizen board is tasked with managing the program, but city is not managing the. Okay, Anjali is saying partnership. Someone else is saying manipulation. Okay, so manipulation is not a correct answer for this at all, because you can see here that the community or the community board has a very significant control over how the program will occur, and that means that there is significant participation of the community. It is not just manipulation of the data to say that there is participation, but real participation is taking place. So manipulation is an incorrect answer. Anita is saying delegated power. Let's see. Delegation is the correct answer for this, because, as I said, it's just one task which has been delegated to the citizen board. So it is uh, there is no participation because the city is not managing the program. The citizen board itself is managing the entire program. However, it's only one program or one part of program. So it is not an entire citizen control, but a task that has been delegated to the citizen board. So delegation is the correct answer. It would be participation if the program was still being managed by the city and there was equal sharing of powers between the citizen board and the public body. So then we could call it a participation. However, in this case, uh, the power of management or managing the program has been entirely delegated to the citizen body. So we consider this to be delegation. Let's see another example. This is the last one. Uh, this says placing a few hand-picked worthy community members on a board of community action agency these community members are not accountable to a constituency in the community, so they are not part of any citizen board or a citizen corporation, so they have not been picked by the community but by the public body itself. They had been hand-picked, although they are being called community members, but they have been hand-picked to form a board of or community action agency, but they have been handpicked by a public organization or public body or someone part of that organization, and they are not accountable to the citizens or a constituency of the community. And still, in the whole uh, decision making community or the decision making body, the traditional power elite hold the majority of the seats. So, in the decision making community or the decision making body, the majority seats are still being holded by the power elite. Only some seats have been given to community members, and even these community members have been handpicked by someone, and they are not really representative of the community as they are not accountable to any constituency in the community. So what does this show? What level of participation is this? Anyone can answer? Please go ahead. I'll quickly show you again the options which are there so that you can make a better judgment. Again, remember that the majority of the people in the decision making body are still the power elite, and a minority is only reserved for community members, and even these community members have been handpicked by these elite people in the power. Anjali is saying placation. Vijaya is saying therapy. Anita is also saying either placation or therapy. Okay, so placation is the correct answer for this. Uh, if you remember, in placation, I said that placation is solving only one or very small part of the problem, which actually doesn't really solve the problem at all. So just focusing on one small part of the problem and not the entire problem in itself. So not really focusing on the root cause or root problem which exists. So in this example, when you pick uh, some members from the community, obviously there can be some uh, there can be some issues which can be raised or put forward by these community members in the decision making system, and they can be moved further. Their opinions can be taken forward while making the decision in this case. However, they are still a minority, so all of their wishes regarding their decision making might not be considered entirely, and they still are handpicked by the power elite, so they might not be really representative of the needs or wishes of the community. They might represent some part of the needs and wishes, but not entirely. So, in doing so, some problem of the community will be solved. Some participation from the community in terms of problem formulation, in terms of decision making, and in terms of implementation will be there because of these few community members on the decision making board. However, it won't really show or communicate the real problems of the community, and it doesn't really show complete participation of the community. So this is what is called placation, or this is just one example of placation. So I hope these examples made it a little more clearer how these different levels of participation vary and how they can manifest in a real life governments or in real life scenarios in cities. I hope this is clear. We'll move on to the next question for today, which is which of the organizations are not involved in a participatory planning at a local level in a municipality? And you are given four options: the Finance Commission, a ward committee, a community development society, and board of councillors. So these are all the organizations which you might have also seen in the lectures. These are all the organizations which work at a local level in a municipality, and all of these are part of a participatory planning which takes place in the urban in an urban area or at a local level. So these consist of urban local bodies, so municipalities, nagar panchayats, etc. Then ward committees. So these committees are formed for each ward, and again, uh, these are also elected members from that ward. Then board of councillors. So board of councillors consists of council members who are elected in general elections in a urban area or at the local level. So again, they function at the local level and they are part of a participatory planning. Then you have non-governmental organization or NGOs, which you know that they focus solely on some specific issues of the community or the citizens. So they are a non-governmental body and they work particularly towards some specific issues, bringing out the issues or concerns of uh, local community who can't bring out these concerns from themselves. So these NGOs bring out these concerns or issues to the urban local body and they make efforts in order to incorporate the needs of uh, the particular or concerned community or citizens. So then again, there are neighborhood groups or community groups which belong to even smaller neighborhoods or smaller communities. Then there are community development societies, which again focus on some particular communities and works towards their development needs. Then there are residents associations, so they can be for some particular township or some particular residential colony or things like that, and then they take care of the needs of residents of their particular area. So again, participating in planning at a local level. Then similarly, there are residents clubs also, which also focus on similar things. Then there are professional organizations also, so focusing on one particular profession. So it can be profession of business, so small businesses, large business holders, etc. Maybe shopkeepers, maybe hawkers. There are sometimes organizations, community organizations for porters or taxi drivers, rickshaw drivers, etc. Might know of them. So these are the organization of professional workers which address the needs of particular people associated with a particular profession. Then there are self-help groups. So self-help groups are formulated voluntarily by a group of people who want to contribute funds towards particular goals and use those funds to fulfill their particular goals and want some support from the urban local body or maybe from another funding agency which can help them further their issues or further their needs. So these are the different bodies which function at the local level and they take part in a participatory planning at the local level. So the one which you do not see here in the question or in the options of the question is the Finance Commission. So it might be clear that that is the one which doesn't function at the local level because the Finance Commission is basically a constitutionally mandated body and it is at the center of the fiscal federalism. So federalism is the system of delegation of power from the center to the state and then to further bodies. So in this case, Finance Commission is such a body, and its responsibility is to evaluate state of finances of the union, so the center and the state governments, and then it recommends sharing of taxes between the union and the center, or the different states, or things like that, and even can advise on further decentralization or disbursement of taxes or revenues or funds, and it determines the distribution of taxes among the states as well. So you can see from the functionality of this body as well that it is a central body, so it does not work at a local level, it works on the union and state level. So it is not a body which functions at a local level, or which it really invites participatory planning at all. So I hope this is clear. We'll move on to the next question. So the next question is, the first Environmental Protection Act in India was introduced in year 1986, and this is a true or false question. So you have to say if it's true or false. So this might be a little tricky because the Environmental Act was introduced in 1986 and then it was further amended in 1991. So you need to be clear about this, and you need to read the language of the question very clearly if it's asking about when it was introduced or when it was amended, or which one we follow right now. So be very careful and see the question carefully. What is it is asking? Uh, this is the link to the Environmental Protection Act. If you want to read further on the Act, if you want to see further what the Act prescribes, etc., I have attached the link here. So if you just click on through here, it will take you uh, to the website of CPCB, and here you can see the act and the associated rules also have been provided here. So this is the act which was introduced in 1986 and then amended in 1991, and this is the environmental protection rules. If you click on to here, it will take you to the EA Act. You can see that here. Similarly, if you click on to the rules, it will take you to the rules. I hope it is clear now how to solve this question. Also, this is just a list of rules under the Act. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between the Act and rules? Is it clear what the difference is? Can you quick tell me just in very short or in very understandable terms? I don't need the theory or any jargon, but in very simple terms. Anjali says that Act is supported by Constitution and enforced by law. Okay. Shrestha is saying that Act contains a set of rules. Okay. Anyone else? Acts are mandatory to fulfill. Even rules are mandatory to fulfill. It's not like you cannot fulfill the rules. If you are going to undertake an operation, you have to be wary of the rules and act both. It is not just you fulfill the act and let go of the rules, but it's a different case. Can you be more particular in what you mean by fulfilling? That may be the key to how there's a difference between the two. to comply the condition of the act. Okay. Anyone else? Vijaya is saying violation of the act can be offense under the law. Yes. Act or acts are actually part of legislation. So if you violate a legislation, it is offense under law. But even not following rules can be considered neglect of the law or rules and can be counted as a so I'll explain this in very simple terms. It is not composed of any jargons, but you can simply understand that act tells you what needs to be done and rules tell you how it will be done. So if act tells you environment needs to be protected, rules give you detailed actionable points on how you will protect the environment. Like Environmental Protection Act says that you need to protect the coastal areas, or you need to protect eco-sensitive areas, or you have to maintain environmental standards, or you have to protect the ozone layer. So these are the things which the act will say that you have to take particular action. This is the body which will take action. It will delegate powers, who will be it will maybe assign uh, body who will take care of all of these things. But again, you need further rules to say ki how these things will be done. So coastal zones should be protected. That has been uh, outlined under the act. But then you need coastal zone regulations. So these are rules or regulations which tell you exactly how the zone will be protected. So under this you might have that which kind of land use is permitted in the coastal zone, how much development is permitted in the coastal zone, maybe which is the deciding body if you want to change land uses, what land uses can be changed, which land can be changed to what. All these kind of rules and regulation for the coastal zone come under rules or regulation. So the act will tell you what is to be done, but how it will be done, this is told by the rules and regulations. I hope this is clear to you, and this you can always remember while focusing on the basis of difference between an act and rules. I hope this is clear to everyone. We'll move on to the next question. The next question for today is choose the option which is not a category of urban land use, and you have been given four options: residential, transportation, a biosphere reserve, and urban agriculture. Can anyone guess which is the correct answer? These are the urban or general urban land uses which we had studied. Yes, many people are correct, guessing correctly that it is the biosphere reserve, which is not an urban land use, because uh, reserve, although it assigns a particular use to that land, that the land is being reserved to protect uh, the biodiversity or ecosystem of that particular area. So that land has been segregated to be used by only the natural wildlife present there, or by the tribal population which resides there, and it's restricted to the use to general population. So although a use is assigned to that land, but it is not a use which is associated to an urban area. If you recall the definitions of an urban area from the earlier sessions, you might be able to understand why biosphere reserve is not part of urban land use. Although urban forests or forested area sometimes is a part of urban land use, or can be a part of urban area, but a biosphere reserve can definitely not be a part of urban land use if you see logically. A biosphere reserve has three different zones. if you know about it. The first zone is the core area or the core of the biosphere reserve, in which the ecosystem is or the protected ecosystem is located. Okay, and that is not accessible to any human population. It is just for the biodiversity or natural biodiversity of the biosphere reserve. Then comes the buffer zone. So the core zone is basically a legally protected area where no human intervention is possible. Then comes the buffer zone. So buffer zone is the area in which some human activities are still permitted. So maybe research and education activities, maybe some amount of uh, agriculture or fisheries even, or maybe some amount of tourism in some parts of the area or during some periods of the year in some seasons, etc. And this is the area which is also allowed to be used for settlements, but only to the native community or the tribal people who are living in that area. So also the tribal people who are living in that area, often they are involved in activities associated to forestry and other forestry, agriculture or other allied activities which are associated with managing the natural vegetation or fisheries or forests, etc. And finally, the last part of the biosphere reserve is the transition zone. The transition zone is the peripheral area of the biosphere reserve where some human activities like cropping or tourism, recreation, etc. are permitted, and some settlements are also permitted. But these permissions are managed or controlled by the reserve management or with the cooperation of the local or tribal people. So you need to see few key things. First, as you might remember, we whenever we talk about what is an urban area and what is not, we talk about the amount of urban population which is living there. So as we see here that very limited population is allowed to live in this particular areas. So definitely it is highly unlikely that while the permission of human intervention or human population of this area is very limited, it is highly unlikely that these areas will reach to a level of population which is equivalent to being called an urban area. Second thing, the second criteria which you remember about an area being called an urban area, that a majority of the male population living in that area should be engaged in non-agricultural pursuits. So they should be engaged in economic activity which is not agriculture or forestry or other allied activities. However, if you see in this case, all the population which is living in that area, it is engaged in agricultural or allied activities only. So again, this does not fulfill the criteria of urban area. And again, uh, we knew or we had read that some areas are also called statutory towns or statutory urban areas, areas which have been declared urban by a statute. So when an area is declared urban using a statute, the area is also given a body or a statutory body associated with it. So maybe municipality or municipal corporation or other which or other similar municipal body or statutory body which cantonment uh, body for cantonment area, etc., which takes care of the development activities in that area. However, you see here there is no statutory body or statutory urban body which is associated with development in this area. The development in this area is managed by the reserve management or with the cooperation of the local people who live there. So again, even that criteria of urban area is not being fulfilled in the case of a biosphere reserve. So although biosphere reserve has a set use associated to that land and that use is for protection of the natural biodiversity in that area, but it cannot be considered an urban area because of the several different criteria that I just discussed. I think it is very clear now that why biosphere reserve is not a category of urban land use. However, the others mentioned in the options are uh, options of urban land use. I hope this is clear to everyone. Okay, moving on further to the sixth question, which is according to the 74th Amendment Act of Constitution of India, who can vote in the election of councillors for a ULP? So ULP is an urban local body, which you might know. This question is asking about the 74th CAA, and according to that, who all can vote in the election. So let's just see all the options which have been given to us. The first is anybody residing inside the boundary of the ULB, or similar is the last option also, which is all the residents of the ULB. So the first option and the last option both say anyone who is residing inside the ULB. Do you think this is the correct answer? Anyone thinks this is the correct answer, or does anyone object? No, Vijay is saying no. Why, Vijay? Why is it not the correct answer? What is the one thing which is missing?
They have to have registered to the election commission.
Yes, very well. Yes, both of you answered very correctly that just residing inside a urban local body does, or within the boundary of an urban local body, does not make you a permanent resident of that area. There are always migrant populations or traveling or visiting population which are not permanent resident of an area or that particular urban area. So in order for you to be able to vote in an election, you have to be a permanent resident, and then you also need to be registered. So children who are not of the age or not of the voting age are also again permanent residents, but they still cannot vote because they are not of the voting age. So you have to be a permanent resident, and after being a permanent resident you have to be registered to vote in the particular ULB. So even after being of the voting age and even after residing permanently, if you are not registered to vote, you still can't vote in that area. So in order to be registered, the registration in most cases are done through different ward committees. So you can go to your ward office, have your registration there, and then that registration in most cases is then forwarded to uh, the urban local body from each ward. So I hope it is clear which is the correct answer for this. Uh, Only two more options there. Only working male population. This also we know it is not correct. There is no uh, criteria saying that only male population can vote. Even females who are of the voting age, are a permanent resident and have been registered, can vote. So only option is anybody who is a resident of the ULB and registered as a general voter in the Election Commission of India. I have again attached the 74th CA here for you to refer if you still want to go through the constitutional amendment, and I have a shared folder also in which you can find uh, the act which I have uploaded on the folder as well. Also, just for example, I have attached here the State Election Commission also. So I reside in Uttarakhand state right now. So I have just given example of Uttarakhand State Election Commission. However, feel free to go through the election commission of the state which you reside in, and you can quickly, like here I'll show you. this is the website of State Election Commission. You can go and you can see how uh, the local bodies election take place, how registrations are done. So, for example, if you see acts and rules here, so there are acts and rules related to the 3-day panchayat election and for local bodies. So urban local body, if you click on to there, you see all rules related to the local body. So this is the Nagarpalika Act or the Municipality Act, which you might also know that all the states have their own municipal acts, which tells them or which is the basis of all the municipal bodies or how the municipal activities take place in the particular state. So this I'm showing you example of Uttarakhand. Here you can see the earlier act is Uttar Pradesh Nagarpalika Act, which is still being followed by Uttarakhand because earlier Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh were together. They were part of a single state. Now, still the municipal act that Uttarakhand follows is of Uttar Pradesh. So you can see the different rules also. So this is how electoral rolls are prepared. So if you go further, you can find information how rolls are collected from wards, how they are checked and verified, who can register, who cannot, things like that. So this I just showed you example of Uttarakhand state. But if you are curious or you want to read further more, you can very well you go to the website of your own state election commission and you can see how election or local elections or general elections are taken place, how the role is made, who are the bodies responsible for. So I hope this question is also clear. Coming to the last question for today, which is choose the option which is not a function of urban local bodies under the 12th schedule of Constitution of India. So you might know that with the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, uh, the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, it delegated powers to the urban local bodies to perform several functions at the local level. So, what the 12th schedule contains is a list of the different functions or different areas in which a local body or an urban local body can function and uh, or the different function it can deliver at the local level. So this is what the 12th schedule basically is. So this shows you 4 functions which are urban planning, slum upgradation, water supply and higher education, and it is asking you which one of this is not a part of the different function that have been assigned in the 12th schedule. So these are all the functions, so 18 functions which have been allocated to the urban local bodies or delegated to the urban local bodies, uh, which should be performed by them according to the 12th schedule. So you can see this includes urban planning, regulation of land use and construction, planning for economic and social development, making roads and bridges, ensuring water supply, providing public health care and sanitation facilities, providing fire services, providing urban forestry services, even safeguarding weaker sections of the society like the urban poor or the homeless or houseless population, or maybe even informal workers of the society, etc. Then some improvement or upgradation schemes for poverty elevation, providing different amenities, etc. So you can very clearly see which are the functions which are assigned and which are not. And using this list, you can easily identify that which of these 4 functions is not a part of the functions that have been allocated to the urban local bodies. Can anyone tell me that do all these functions are uh, Or are all these functions are performed by the urban local bodies, or some of them are not? Okay, if someone is saying higher education, okay, but that is not my question. My question is, whatever functions which are mentioned in the 12th schedule, do you think all the functions are done by the urban local bodies, or no, some function are done by someone else, not the urban local body? Which I is saying some are shared by private bodies. Okay. Anyone else? Are there some functions which are still performed by the state bodies or maybe parastatal bodies? Is that the case in some cities? Anjali is saying yes. Can anyone tell me why that is the case? Even after a constitutional amendment has happened and uh, even after function have been delegated, still many of the functions are being not performed by the urban local bodies, but maybe state government bodies or parastatal bodies, or maybe are delegated to some private institution, maybe by the local body or maybe by the state itself. Why that happens? Okay, I'll tell you why that happens. Okay, lack of funding and resources. Yes, very well. It's very correct. Many a times, the urban local body does not have enough municipal funds to actually take care or perform many of these functions. Many a times, they don't even have the institutional capacity to do so. So, even if they have funding or they have resources, they don't have the institutional expertise to to actually perform several of these functions. So, for example, construction of large scale infrastructure projects, large scale roads and bridges, they might not have the expertise to actually delegate the task or take care of the project management of the task. So they delegate some of these tasks to private bodies, as someone very correctly mentioned, and sometimes even the state takes care of some of these projects. So then again, there are centrally sponsored schemes or state sponsored schemes as well. So many a times, urban local body uses these schemes to further several of these functions. And in many of the cases, what ends up being is that the a parastatal body or a state organization is in charge of taking care of the particular function. It can happen because of lack of resources, because of lack of institutional capacity, because of lack of expertise, and different things like that. So, although the function have been delegated to the urban local body, and in an ideal scenario, all the functions would be undertaken by the urban local body, but in reality, many functions of this 12th schedule are not undertaken by the urban local body. So I hope this is clear. This is the last question for today. So thank you very much for attending today's session. I'll quickly go back to a question which was asked by Anjali, I think. Anjali is asking, is the LCCS given by the FAO intended to be incorporated into master plans, or this is for use only for land analysis? Okay, Anjali, you have to be very clear that master plans show the land use, they do not show land cover. And LCCS by the FAO, it shows the land cover. So it is classification for the land cover and not the land use. However, when we make master plans show the land use of that area. So it is not showing land cover, but what a particular land is designated to be used as. So even though some land use might be referred to as forest area, but in essentiality that means that that land area is to be reserved as a forest only. It is not to be used in any other way by the people living in that area. So even though it might seem a little similar with the land cover, it is different than land cover. However, the FAO's classification system, it is for land cover and not land use. So it is not used for making master plans. But you are correct, it is used for doing analysis of what different land covers are present in that area. So either identifying the land covers or doing some analysis on maybe how the land cover is changing and different things like that. I hope this is clear. Another thing, the land cover which we see is actually a reflection of what really exists on that land. However, land use plans or master plans which you are talking about, it can be either something which actually exists, so it can be the land use plan can be reflective of what land use actually exists, or it even in like in most cases of master plans, the land use is not reflective of how the land is being currently used, but it's more reflective of what the land is being proposed to be used as in the future. So as you see, master plans usually have a period of 10 to 20 years. So the proposed master plan which we have, it is actually shows us land use which the land is supposed to be used in the form of in the uh, plan period of that particular master plan. So in the coming 10 to 20 years or for whatever time period the master plan is made for. So when land cover denotes the actual cover that the land has, master plans denote the use that will be or which is proposed for the land, which is not essentially the case which current is. I hope this also was clear. Anjali is also asking to show the access link. Okay, I'll show the access link once again. Anjali, what access link are you talking about? Are you talking about the access to folder?
Yeah, that is clear. No problem. You had
Okay,
shown it after that. Thank you.
okay, okay.
Can you show it again? I think I missed it. Sorry.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll show it again. And anyone else who missed so far can see it again. So this is you, this is your profile. So if you go to your profile, oh, I'm sorry. This is your courses. So if you go to your profile, you can go to your courses. So if you go to this course, which is Urban Governance and Development Management, you see on the left side of the window, you have uh, the course outline. So each week's course, like each week, what is there, the outline is there. In the end of this outline, you have this problem solving session for July 2020. So if you click this one, you get here problem solving session ka recording. So if you click onto there, this page opens which shows you the link to recordings and shared documents. So if you click here, it will take you to this shared Excel sheet. In this Excel sheet, recording link for each week with the YouTube video is given here, and this is the link of the folder in which I will upload all of the PPTs which I show you and any additional material which I show you in class. I hope this is clear.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so this is clear to everyone. Any other questions which anyone might have, please feel free to ask. You're welcome, Vijay. Okay, our time for today is up. I think our sessions are 2 hour sessions, 6 to 8. So I'll close the session for today, but be aware that all of these sessions are recorded and are shared. So you can, at any time, you can go to the YouTube link, you can see. And if you still have doubts, you can ask in the question and answer forum, which is there, or you can even ask in the next session. So if you have doubt from previous sessions also, please feel free to ask. If you have questions regarding something else which has been discussed in previous weeks, but I have not mentioned in the question answers, but you still have doubt regarding the study material or any other questions you might have, please feel free to ask. It can be for this session or previous session or anything related to the study. I hope that is clear to all of you. Thank you a lot for attending. I hope it was helpful and informative to you, and it helped you solve the questions. And we'll meet again in next session, which will be on next Tuesday, again 6 to 8. Thank you very much all for attending. See you next time.